Okay, greetings and welcome to Hercules and the Space Gods. Today we continue our series on the UFO Entity Enigma, and I have with me legends in the field. I have Tim Swartz, I have Nick Curto, and I have Marc and Phyllis Brinkerhoff. And everyone today will contribute their perspective, their experiences, and their thoughts on Nordics and the contactee phenomenon. And I think we've all been touched by the contactee phenomenon, and we've been exposed to it. So I'm really looking forward to what everyone has to say. And we will start with Tim Swartz. Tim, have you ever had a contact experience with a Venusian or a Mercurian or someone from further afield?
No, I have not. Yeah, so sorry to disappoint anybody on that, but I've known, quite a few people who have, but myself, when it comes to contact experiences or really any definitive UFO experiences, sadly lacking for myself, unfortunately. But that doesn't mean I'm not open to it.
But you've investigated the phenomenon, as you said, and Tim Beckley was a contactee, according to one of his books and the stories that I gathered from talking to people who knew Tim. So what is your take on the contactee phenomenon as experienced secondhand?
Well, it's a fascinating experience, and it's we could talk. I know we're limited on the amount of time, but I mean, this is something that we could talk about for the rest of the week, because there is so much involved with it that it's almost impossible to try to put it in, say, like a Reader's Digest version, because I think that there are a number of different factors taking place. So it's going to be interesting to hear what other people's opinions tonight are on it, because I have my own. I mean, I think that a lot of people did actually and still do have these experiences with the Space Brothers and the Venusians and Martians and whatever. But I'm more inclined to believe that there is a lot more to the phenomena than what they've been told and what we've been told.
I tend to agree with you. I've studied the phenomenon throughout much of my life, and I've had several experiences, and I also am in constant contact with some organizations that are centered around communications with the Space Brothers and their cosmic philosophies. And it's very interesting because I'm a student primarily of antiquity. And these things that we're hearing today that are coming from the Space Brothers, John Keel described it like a broken record playing the same information over and over again. And you can find this information, if you know where to look, in antiquity. So people were having experiences, even in ancient times, encounters with star beings who would pretty much give them the same type of cosmic philosophy. And I've learned through my own experiences with meditation and altered states that it's like a radio thing. You could tune in to places inside yourself or outside yourself. It's hard to tell in certain states of mind where you tap into that and you get a communication that pretty much will give you the same information directly. And lately, I've been focusing on that a lot. I've started rereading Adamski and all the really early contactees.
Yeah, somebody told me not too long ago that a lot of the early contactees like Adamski and Howard Mentor and people like that they were brought in and contacted kind of as a test by whatever intelligence that we're dealing with here to see, first of all, if people are emotionally ready to handle such a thing, the idea of intelligent life on another planet. And they were told that you can reveal some of the information, but not everything. And then I guess that a lot of these contactees went and did just the opposite and kind of proved the point that supposedly this test was about, that they weren't really ready yet.
Right.
And then the contact stopped. And some of these people then went and started fabricating their contacts just to continue the attention, and with a very just a couple, the money, because nobody for the most part makes money from the UFO field.
No, we don't, and that's why I've always thought that information, that accusation, that these people are doing it for the money, is spurious, because unless, except for a very small handful of people who write lots of books that continuously are bestsellers in the field. I don't know if anybody in the field who's making tons of money, or who hasn't dealt with hassles before because they came out with a story and shared it. Yes, I heard the same thing about the contactees, the early ones, that they were kind of tested and that they failed the test, and then later on, because there was the demand for information, that they kind of fabricated it. And I could understand the temptation for doing that. And also, at certain points in time, it seems, if you study enough of the early accounts, the intelligence community did get involved with them to some degree. And that's been interpreted to mean either they were stooges of the intelligence agency, or they were operatives, or they were duped. You can interpret in a variety of different ways. But it seems, especially with Menser, he definitely had somebody put a lid on what he was saying for a good period of time. And he retracted a lot of what he said. And Adamski, it came out later by people who knew him, he also was told he could not share a certain amount of information, or he'd get in trouble with the United States government. So who knows how much that intervention altered and shaped things. Nick, what are your thoughts? You're a contactee from a very young age, and although you haven't had many that you remember, you have been contacted.
I wish, Hercules, I could report that it was a incredible experience, that it was wonderful, that it was everything I was hoping it would be, which would be to learn so much about a very different culture and all that. But it wasn't. It was a scary, nasty, awful experience. And I'm so sorry that I had to go through something like that, because you can never forget it. It's in you forever. It just is. So it wasn't a pleasant experience at all. It was a hurtful experience. And when you're in a situation where you literally cannot move, your body cannot move, your face cannot move, you're just like a statue, like we're frozen, and against your will. Your free will is gone for that moment. That's a horrible experience, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody. And when I started learning more about Betty and Barney Hill, there were definite situations in my experience there that were similar, very similar. And the more I started learning about it, I went, wait a moment, bing, bing, bing. Yeah, that's, not a lot, but some of what they were saying was what was going on here to me and my family, my family being my mother, father, sister, and myself, the four of us in a car, where a wave of energy, I can't explain it in any other way. It was like a huge wave of energy that came through a moving car. We weren't going fast, maybe 35 miles an hour, something like that, on a lonely road in New England. In an afternoon, there were no other cars, and this force swept from the front of the car to the back, and it was like 1,000 little pins were stuck in me. And I can't describe how hurtful it was. And it just knocked me. And all of a sudden, a second wave, I remember that, a second wave, again, strong wave, like the worst, I'm going to say electrical, although I don't know what it was, swept again. And then the next thing I remember, it was nighttime. And we were all out of the car. I lost track of my parents and my sister, and I was sitting on the hood of my dad's car in a dark forest, and I was about 8 inches away from a gray with huge black eyes that were like black glass, and I couldn't move, and I was just facing this entity. Wham! From one thing, like I told you, wham, to the next. And then the only other thing I really remember is we were somehow back in the car, driving very slowly. It was got to be 9, 10 o'clock at night. And my family, usually we're always talking, look at this, oh, look at that over there. You know, we tend to chatter and share things. Not a word. It was silence, 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 like someone had died that bad. And we just silently got home, and not a word, nothing.
So these were grays then. They weren't like the Nordic or the human type of extraterrestrials that the early contactees reported. These were grays. And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's when these type of experiences started happening. The experiences became frightening and disturbing is when the grays started entering the picture and abducting people, as it's called. But,
absolutely right. And I would have loved so much to have had a pleasant contact. I was up for something like that. Even at an early age, I would have so wanted something like that. A peaceful, loving contact. Oh my God, I would give anything for that. And yet, wham, I was slammed with something like that.
But you got that peaceful contact through your association with the Urantia book, which is more in line with the contactees. You know, in that a small group of people started receiving messages from celestials, and the celestials opened up a view of the cosmos and our relationship to it, and they started giving information on how this experience is a learning experience, and that we are doing certain things that are disturbing other intelligences. So even though your personal experience was scary and an abduction type experience, you sought out the type of experience that contactees underwent through your choice of the Urantia book, or as you say, the Urantia book chose you.
Right, exactly right. And I'll always be open to that, of course. I still want that more than anything. I've had with a group of people a couple of times where we literally saw a craft. We saw the same craft a couple of times, which was a wonderful experience, because we, to this day, I really feel as though we were being monitored. We wanted that, and we got it. We wanted to have contact, and sure enough, a ship, in both cases, acknowledged us by going towards us, way up in the sky. Who knows how high it was, but definitely knew we were there and acknowledged us. In one case, it stopped up over us and literally stopped with no sound, no wind or anything like that, but it stopped directly over us, signaling, we know we've heard you. And then it continued after about 30 seconds, again, silently, all the way to the horizon. And another time, the same thing happened. It was an acknowledgement of where our position was. When a craft, I can't describe it with detail. It was more like an orange light, but it definitely went right over us where we were located. It could have gone other places. It did not. So it kind of tells me we were being monitored. They knew, and they did that deliberately. I think that's kind of wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the Urantia book goes, the Urantia book is filled with love. It's filled with the fact that we have brothers and sisters on other planets, and we need to have all the peace and love and broadcast that, be that kind of a planet where other beings can feel comfortable being here, not being shot at, not being hostile, but being loving and embracing our cultures. Wouldn't you give anything in the world for that? I would.
So you got that, and I'm very happy for you that you found something that gave you that connection that you were looking for and that you wanted. And you're certainly a wonderful human being. I've known you for years now, and we've done many creative things together. So, I'm happy you found what you were looking for, Nick.
Thank you, Hercules, and let's hope it continues.
May that be so. And we have among us somebody who is actively in contact with friendly humanoid type of ETs, and who is, through sharing your story, going to introduce us to another aspect of the phenomena. We have the contactees, we have the abductees, and then we have what are called star seeds or incarnate extraterrestrials. And Marc is going to take us down that path.
I wish I could. I'm an walk-in. I'm an extraterrestrial, though. Yes, I'm not from this planet, or this is my first time here on this planet Earth to be born. But I've walked the planet as a Hyatherian in ancient times. Many times I've met people there. But I came back at this time to rescue Phyllis, who is my soulmate on the high realms, and with our oversouls. And as Ingo had seen, and two other psychics, maybe one other good psychic like Ingo, saw that I was a walk-in and I was a higher self in here. So if I'm out of body, you're not going to see me. You're going to see my true self projection, which is kind of this being here, myself there. But I came to rescue Phyllis, and I had no karma here. So I had to take over a body that was discarded, which was my mother having a slight miscarriage
wait
or
a
something.
minute, the reason he's rescuing me in this lifetime.
Oh, we're getting into that too. Yes.
No, because that's
Yeah,
the important
that's true.
part. He's been visiting me for, thousands
different
of years.
times through her lifetimes on planet Earth as a male or a female. And I would
Okay.
check in with her or him at the time. In Atlantis, Phyllis was a male teenager, and we took him with some other people off when the cataclysm was occurring. It was a heavy duty thing going on. And then we brought some people back, other ships who are cargo, different, they pick up things and pick people up. We would take them, others take them to the mother planet systems, which would include the Coma Berenices, the Arcturian area, the star Sirius and Arcturus and these other star systems. But mostly it was Coma Berenice and what we call the Pleiades today.
Right.
But there's many systems beyond the Pleiades. So when these ETs come and say I'm a Pleiadian, they're saying I come from that direction, but not from maybe that Pleiadian star, but there's many out there. And some of those beings, they're called today, they might call them a Nordic because they're tall and blonde, maybe 6 feet, 7 feet. Some are average height like Earth people too, because many of them are from Earth, from the Atlantean times, but they have dark hair too. But most of the ones you see coming to the planet or visiting people have this blonde tone, blondish, dark brown blonde, not dark, dusty blonde or dirty blonde, whatever they call it, and blonde and platinum. So we have different people, but some of the people who made contact with the so-called Nordic types of people have actually told them, we are from Earth, our ancestors are from Earth. They left during the time of Atlantis when they were rescued. So they took them to places. Not everybody, some came back and they wanted to come back and work on the planet. And that's when we would drop some off back on the hills and
Marc,
things.
I still have to jump in. Everybody gets mad, but I have to jump in and say the reason he is here.
No one's going to get mad at you, Phyllis.
I know.
The
reason he's here in this incarnate form on a first level planet. Remember, you guys, we are all living in a first level
heavy frequency density,
which is where you live, you die. You might be in a good frequency where you could live 1,000 years, but still you're going to die. And the resources need to be consumed.
And you have to
so
eat,
that
sleep.
is really what most people are talking about when they're talking about extraterrestrials. When we say that he came to rescue me, he came to rescue me from incarnating back to this first frequency again. So now I have learned how not to do that. And so I'll be able to go off to the higher frequencies with Marc, which I'm sure all of the people on this panel can do.
We want to get out.
If they don't want to, but there's just a lot of confusion where people really don't know what they're dealing with, but most of the time it's first level ETs.
Yeah, most contact experiences or abductions, I hate to say that, I can't stand that they do that, and we don't like it either up there, but these abductions are physical beings like us, physical grays, and the only thing the grays can do, they live on this density, but they can move to the next frequency to disappear in front of us or move through a doorway that they've created in a frequency in a room in a wall, because it's happened to people we know.
So you might call them a low-level Etherian.
Like the first lowest level of an Etherian,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It would be they're moving into its first level frequencies within the etheric realm. And some of the other beings, some even Venusians would come in and they will have children, maybe eat, but they don't eat like we do, but they do eat, some of them. But on the higher the frequency for the Etherians, it gets to the point where they are not needing to eat. They can physically come through and manifest bodies that they train to do. That's not something that they just do, but they train to do it. And it takes training. And then they could come through and do that and work here, like with George Adamski, mostly with George Van Tassel, actually. Some of the space people that visited him might not have been all Venusians. Yeah, I know, it's like totally different, but they can have some medallion they could put on, they told him about, and they could dematerialize in front of us, but still be there. And you could, if you walked into them, you'd feel them. So that's some of the ways they can infiltrate meetings back in the 50s. That's what they told George.
But the other thing that we didn't clarify, I just, just to make it clear, whether anybody is listening, is that it's because the reason he came back now is because we're at an end time cycle.
I was going to say
where
that
this
next.
planet is
Yeah.
no longer going to be the same planet in a number of years. So
Yeah.
it'll be cave.
It could become like
Stone Age time.
a feeling of something going bad. That's why in the ancient texts, they think the earth started 6,000 some odd years ago because something had happened back then. So it made them confused.
That was a half cycle.
Yeah. So when I had a drowning experience, probably around 7 years old, and I got to the other side, going up, my angel's with me, and I'm saying, wow, I said, I know if I go through that light, the big light that's up there that calls you, I said, if I go through that giant thing, I know I'm not coming back. I can't come back. And then I won't have time to get another body as a come in again, like as a walk-in, because I have no karma here. There's no connection. I'm not supposed to be able to be here. So we had to go through 3 different councils before I came back in the 1920s. We were visiting early Earth 20s.
But
we were visiting councils in different places in time-lapse time.
that's
I'm
all
just
very
trying to say
interesting,
that.
but don't migrate away from the most important thing you just said,
Yeah.
which
that
was at 7
I
years
won't be
old,
able to come back.
you knew there would not be enough time for him to find a body.
Yep. I said to the angel, I said, if I go, I won't have enough time to come back for another body to help and get and rescue and do what I was doing.
Now,
That
what
there'd be
you're
no time.
sharing is something that's been there from the beginning of the contactee era, and all the early contactees also shared with us that there were ETs among us. Some of them were humans who had been taken off planet and then brought back and reintegrated into the society, and that some ETs had chosen to incarnate. This is before the terms walk-in and wanderer and starseed and starborn came out into consciousness. So that's a consistent message that we've gotten from the beginning. And I'm going to come back to you, Mark, but I want to ask Tim. Tim, in the contactees that you studied, what is your understanding of that process of the intermingling of human type of ETs into our society?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's one of the weird things about the whole contactee, possible alien interaction with people, because you had, especially in the 40s, 50s, 60s, really even into the early 70s, you had these space brothers, the Nordics, as you would call them, and then all of a sudden, and like you said, I mean, there was even a lot of supposed sightings of these beings who have infiltrated our society, living amongst us. And then all of a sudden, starting probably around 1973, it seems like they all just kind of vanished to be replaced with the big-eyed grays. So I'll still get an occasional report of somebody who thinks that they have sighted an extraterrestrial, you know, like on the streets, maybe they'll get a mental impression from them or something like that. But those kinds of experiences being reported to me have become few and far between. Now, one of the possibilities is that a lot of this has gone to, you know, what John Keel would call silent contactees, where, you know, where people just aren't too willing to talk about their experiences anymore. And instead, you know, the people who have been abducted by the big-eyed greys, it's such a traumatic experience that when they are able to, you know, if they can remember it afterwards, or if the screen memory goes down, it comes back, then they're all too willing. Well, you know, I can't say all too willing, because a lot of people are very reluctant to talk about it, but you know, they're more willing to talk about it. So you know, to me, that is one of the big mysteries of this whole phenomena, is why there seems to be cycles of these types of experiences. Because as you said yourself, Hercules, I mean, you go back into the past and you will see very similar contactee types of experiences that people would interpret as visitations from the gods or angels or things like that. And then, you know, those kind of experiences would wane for a while to be replaced with what would be interpreted as, you know, almost like you know, demonic or devil types of entities. You know, and then sometimes, you know, like the wee folk fairies and leprechauns and things like that. So, you know, whatever it is, whatever is going on with the phenomena, it seems to run in cycles, and same way with the appearance of the UFOs themselves. You know, especially in the 50s, you had these. I mean, they were very science fiction-y looking, very metallic types of craft. Look at the like the photographs that George Adamski allegedly, you know, took. And then, you know, for a while they kind of evolved into more like luminous disc, and now we're just seeing orbs. You know, you don't get a lot of reports or photographs of these more, you know, like solid types of objects. So, you know, what is it about the phenomena that makes it so cyclical, or is it our perception of it? You know, are we playing a more important role in the interpretation and perception of this phenomena than we can imagine we are?
Those are really good questions, and each one of them is worth a separate show. So I'll add them to the list. But what I found, because I've wondered the same thing, and again, going back to what John Keel said, it seems to be like a broken you know, record, and it goes in cycles, and you know, we're caught up in this cosmic story that's unfolding. But the regular contactee type of experiences continue with the contactee started groups. So for instance, there's a lot of people who are still in contact with Ashtar Command. There's still a lot of people that are in contact with the Celestials in the Urantia book. One of my favorite groups is Unarius out in California, El Cajon. And so they're still communicating with Space Brothers and having these type of experiences, and also into some of the new theosophies, you know, the Theosophical Society inspired groups. They're still having experiences with cosmic masters and planet deities and things like that. So I found that even though the wave has passed, and in our popular culture we're experiencing reptilians and insectoids and, you know, all sorts of other things, which again have come in waves, that there are pockets of people who, despite what's going on in the popular imagination, are still having a particular type of experience. So even though now you're hearing about reptilians more than you're hearing about greys, there are still pockets of people who, in the culture that the greys developed, like the support groups and things like that, are still meeting in support groups and sharing information on the greys. and that those experiences are ongoing, just like the Nordic type of experiences are ongoing in these cosmic spirituality groups. So there's a construct in mythology called the world tree, and the Norse had a world tree. The Hebrews had a world tree, the tree of life, and you had a positive one and you had a negative one, and even the Greeks had a version of the tree of worlds. And these were like something that connected different types of realities together, and beings from those realities, visit our reality. So you had dwarves and you had giants and you had, as you pointed out, fairies and elementals and nature spirits and folklore type of creatures as well. And these are the same type of beings that appear in the mythology. And I know from Greek mythology, which is my #1 passion in life, that the gods, when they've revealed anything about themselves, it's been that they're beings of light and that they can take any shape that they damn well please. So it could be the same phenomenon, just expressing itself in different ways and reacting to how people. Initially, I was very distrustful of the intelligences that communicate because they're taking different shapes, but they're saying the same thing. And then, as again, my studies continued and my experiences continued, it's kind of like maybe they're doing this to give us a way of relating to them that we can actually understand and relate to. So it's not really deception. It's like when you're talking to a kid, you talk to a kid. And it's different when you're talking to another adult or to somebody in your field. You wouldn't talk to a kid like you're talking to another professional, but maybe it's their mode of communication. So they could be religious figures, they could be mythical figures, they could be outer space aliens. It really doesn't matter, but they're communicating with us. So that's where I currently am in my understanding. And a month from now, I may be someplace else, but I've been here. I've been here for a while. Thank you, Nick.
I just think we've got to be very careful, especially when it comes to appearance, because when we're learning quickly that entities can change appearance, and something that looks attractive, I'm going to say in Nordic, but it could be other things that would be very attractive, can be actually not at all a good thing. While other things that might seem creepy or so foreign to us that we're on an automatic, a bit of a scared feeling, might be actually quite wonderful. And I just feel, I don't know, very empowered to say we've got to watch it very, very carefully, because things can manipulate our feelings, manipulate how we see things and hear things. And we've got, especially right now, there's so much going on, as another program about what's going on with a total attack of the world with other things, including the virus. So again, we just have to be cautious and very careful before we jump to conclusions. I just wanted to put that out there.
Oh, sure. Yes, of course. I recommend to everyone, don't believe something just because somebody said it, including me, because again, my beliefs change as I move forward in life and get more information. So I don't want everybody adapting something that I might put down as I learn something more. But yes, and that's advice that applies to people in this world as well that we encounter. We don't often know who's friend and who might be a potential foe. So we need to again, be careful, and that's very good advice to give everyone. Unfortunately, we only have 12 more minutes.
This went by real fast. I knew it was going to be. Oh boy, this goes by so quickly.
So I want us to wrap up. But however, do you think we should extend this to an hour and a half next time?
Yeah,
I would vote for that.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
So that is what we will do. So I'll give everybody a chance, like 3-4 minutes to close. Mark, we'll start with you. And
Um,
Mark, you're the most immersed in this particular world. I'm immersed too, but like a step or two removed. You're right in the middle of the phenomenon and your voice for the phenomenon in the here and now. What advice would you give people who want to pursue this study? What wisdom can you give them to guide them along on their exploration?
well, I wanted to say, I thought we were going to just bounce what Nick said, because that was perfect.
Go ahead.
I was hearing before Nick was speaking too, as well, while he was speaking, is that this planet that we're on in this solar system, in this level of frequency, and since most Earth people or beings here are not telepathic to understand other beings coming through, that is a petri dish in a sense of testing grounds and playground for these lower beings as well. And that's when Nick was right. You say you got to watch out, because the lower ones who are fallen, we won't go into their names, but they are beings of light, and they can appear as most loving and everything, and blazing light and beautiful, really handsome, beautiful girl, whatever, and they lure people with that. But then they're a trickster. So we have to learn how to discern from your solar plexus and from your pituitary pineal. You have to learn how to discern, and that's always to test and ask questions. So you test the spirits. Who's ever coming around? Don't just channel, and just don't, open yourself up to anything coming through. And that's what they do. They look for this, because I one of our shows, we talked about how I was on the ship, so we met them, and they brought them up. So we talked to them. So they're all out there to do this. And some of them are Earth people. They're people that are discarnate, and they're in those levels, playing tricks on everybody, because they didn't go any further. They just like to play tricks and be mean or whatever they're doing. So we got to really be careful. And Nick, when you said, they could be beautiful and all this, it's true. But you got to learn to discern from the heart, and that whole area, the chakra frequency, heart, throat, everything here, because love is their frequency. The higher beings, those who are meaning love, no matter what they look like. Exactly. I mean, we got guys like this here, these are loving beings. Now we would say, what is that guy? He's like a reptilian mix. He's a high different being, but this, a person might be scared of them, but they're not bad people. So the discernment comes when I'm talking to the ships. They telepathically, they speak to people. You can actually hear sometimes a person talk, but they're telepathic, and their first thing is love. People stand there looking at crying with love, they said. This is how they communicate. The others who are negative, they don't communicate that way, and some of them are not telepathic. They would like to think they are, but they're not all telepathic, these space beings.
So be careful. And how can people contact you, Mark and Phyllis? I know Phyllis likes to stay out of the picture, but how can folks contact you guys?
I think from our main site, one of our two sites, right? ET Universal Zone. That's with Hercules, and you can .com, sorry, etuniversalzone.com and intergalacticmission.com. That's our two main sites. My other art site is marcbrinkerhoff.com, and on every site you can link to all our other websites, and our email is the same on all the sites, marcbrinkerhoff@yahoo.com, and we both check all that all the time.
We are archiving the most recent.
Oh, and we archive the most recent shows on the ET Universal Zone at Archives.
Very awesome.
With you.
And you're working on books, which I'm greatly looking forward to reading and devoting shows to. So thank you so much, Mark, and thank you so much, Philip. And we'll move on to Tim.
Do it.
Hi, Philip. Tim Swartz, how can people contact you, and any projects on the horizon that we should be aware of and look out for?
Sure. Well, all of my books, as well as the books of Tim Beckley and Sean Castillo, and the rest, you can find everything on Amazon.com. We have a website. It's called conspiracyjournal.com. Just one word, conspiracyjournal.com. I'd like to say that the late Tim Beckley, we managed to get his last book that he was working on. It's called Dulce Warriors. we finally got it put together and released. It's really just a couple of weeks ago. I know Hercules, you said you got your
Yes.
copy, because Hercules has a testimonial in there about the late great Timothy Green Beckley. So you know, if you're looking for an interesting book right now, Dulce Warriors, it's out both as a print and as a Kindle book. And I think that Tim Beckley would be really happy with what we managed to come out with. It's an interesting book. And as for myself, I am, you know, this kind of regrouping right now after the death of Mr. Beckley. I've got some books of my own, as always, in several stages of preparation that hopefully I'll be able to get at least one out before the end of the year. And I'll just have to keep you posted on what the title will be and when it comes out. But like I said, hopefully by at least the end of 2021.
I'm looking forward to it, and you're always welcome on any of our podcasts. And if you have something to promote, just let me know. We'll make time to focus on it. Thank you so very much, Tim.
My
And
pleasure,
last
Hercules.
but not least, Nick Curto.
If anybody would like to make a comment or a question, I'd be very welcome to take that. My email address is Nick, N-I-C-K, NYNY1, and that's the numeral 1, not O-N-E, at gmail.com. So again, NICK, NYNY1 at gmail.com. I'm working on a dream that I had about a year ago, and I'm turning it into an art show that absolutely grabbed me. When I woke up from that dream, it was, oh my God. And I've made the notes on that right away. And it's almost finished, and I'm looking for an art gallery to exhibit this coming work. So hopefully next year, hopefully I'll have an art gallery that will exhibit my work. So that's going on right now.
That is awesome. Of course, keep us posted, and we will draw as much attention to it as we possibly can. And I've done art gallery appearances, believe it or not, in full ancient Greek regalia. People wanted me to wear.
Love that. Absolutely love that.
Yours as well. Thanks to all of you. You're all awesome individuals. I'm greatly honored to have you in my life and to be doing things with you. I wish you the best in all your endeavors, and I look forward to our continuing this conversation next month. And thanks to everybody who tuned in, whether you're here live or whether you'll be joining us later on YouTube. Until next time, this is all of us wishing all of you joyous journeys and amazing adventures. Take care for now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Get out.